Good evening, my viewers. This is George Ondek with the latest edition of the George Ondek Show. Tonight I have Richard Cirulli on with me and Susan Bond, and I'm going to let them each introduce themselves and say why they're on my show tonight. Richard, do you want to go first?
Sure. First of all, thank you for this opportunity.
It's my pleasure.
I'm the founder of the Demi-Tasse Players, and it's a newly formed troupe that was formed to bring awareness for mental illness.
And it's a non-for-profit
It's a
group?
not-for-profit.
It's you put on plays and raise funds for
mental illness, and we also, it's to bring awareness as well, because the whole thing, what was the genesis of this is that, first of all, I lost a number of friends to mental illness, either through suicide or they just became alienated. And when I started doing some research, sadly enough, only, according to government statistics, only 17% of adult Americans qualify for being normal in terms of mental health, or have optimal mental health.
Who determines what is normal?
Good question. They never in the abstract define that, and that's probably somebody else's dissertation. But looking at the numbers, it was a little disheartening.
With the pressures people have in the modern world today, I can see that happening, I guess.
Yeah, and that contributes as well, this lack of control. And 10 million Americans suffer from either schizophrenia, bipolar, or depression. So when you look at those numbers...
And veterans from PTSD who've been in the war.
Yeah, that's right. And that's another issue that we're confronting. And the sad reality is, having been exposed to it, I've been in cases where you'll see a person, use the expression, falling down the rabbit hole, and you just watch this progression, and you see it happening, and you don't know if you want to insert yourself or if there's an intervention.
Susan, I want to stop you for a minute because I want to introduce Susan,
sure,
and then we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Susan, how are you connected with this repertory theater group that does good for mental illness people?
Actually, I'm fairly new to the company. I've been in local theater for about 40 years now.
Were you an actress?
I am an actress.
You
I
are?
also direct.
Wow.
And I've produced plays. I've been with Yorktown Community Players. I've been with Peekskill Repertory Theater, the original Peekskill Rep. I've been with the St. Mary's Players. I've been with Embark of Peekskill also.
Where's St. Mary's Players at?
St. Mary's Players, that's kind of where my roots were. That was in Yonkers, a group in Yonkers many years ago.
You want to know what a small world this is? I made my communion and confirmation at St. Mary's
Did you really?
School, Immaculate Conception Church in Yonkers on South Broadway.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't that a small world?
It is a small world
And I
indeed.
discovered you. I'm a talent scout at Dr. Small's office, where you're...
It's a pitch for
where
Dr.
you're-
Small.
That's not a pitch. I'm not allowed to do pitches here. But I met a fine receptionist. Are you a receptionist?
No.
No, okay.
Office manager.
Give me the manager, okay. And I said, after I talked to you and found out you were involved with this non-for-profit, how would you like to be on my show? So that's
And
how
I
we
very
met.
enthusiastically said yes.
Yes.
And I think it's a great cause that Richard is really promoting. Mental illness really needs to be put in the forefront. It's so predominant nowadays, especially nowadays, it seems. There's a lot of violence in the world, and we really need to address it. We need to look at it, assess it, and find ways to really treat it.
Why, in contrast to physical illness, is there such a stigma put on a person who suffers from mental illness? Maybe that's too deep for you.
No, not at all. I mean, it's something that has been in the closet for a long time. people don't want to be so vulnerable and think that their minds have been affected. So it's really been put behind closed doors. They used to lock people up. They used
Yes,
to give
Willowbrook,
very aggressive treatments, frontal lobotomies,
Poughkeepsie.
shock treatments. I mean, things that were really horrible and very detrimental. So now it's becoming, there's much more of an awareness and an opportunity, I think, to have it treated, and there's funding, and that's why I think this is such an important
And I hear you're like a
campaign.
talent scout for the repertory theater.
Well, I do know a lot of actors from being in the area and being with several groups over the years. So yeah,
How about the Yorktown stage? Have you performed
I haven't
there?
actually performed at
okay.
Yorktown Stage.
Okay.
Locally, the Peekskill, the Paramount Center for the Arts
Oh,
was the home
excellent.
of the Peekskill
Actually,
rep.
right now that's closed,
Yes,
and they're
it
looking
is.
for new owners, from what I've heard. And that's
It's a
kind of
beautiful
sad.
theater, and I really
That
hope
along
we
with the
get it operational.
Tarrytown Music Hall are two
Another
treasures.
one, another gem.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so nice talking to you. Let me get back to Richard. So tell me more about your fundraising event that you have coming up, what it's going to be about, where and when it's going to happen.
Okay, well, for the fundraiser is scheduled for June 30th at the Whippoorwill Theater in
At what
Armonk.
theater?
Whippoorwill at the
Whippoorwill.
Armonk Public Library,
Uh-huh.
and that will be June 30th. And we're going to be premiering a new play, Thoughts for a Lost Friend, and it actually deals with the Vietnam War,
Wow.
and it deals with
Which I
the-
was part of as a
it's
conscription
it's a
soldier.
deep drama. It's not for the faint-hearted. It deals with some deep emotional issues and what a person goes through when a friend is lost in Vietnam, and how it affects them on a very emotional level.
It's affecting me right now with you talking about it.
Yeah.
I was in a rocket attack, 2 of them in Vietnam,
Yeah.
during the Tet Offensive.
Yeah.
I lost friends. I lost buddies who had their legs blown off because of a Russian rocket attack.
Yeah.
Russian-built rockets. Nurses that were injured, and men who had already fought out in the field who were re-injured. Our enemy attacked a military hospital,
Yeah.
field hospital. So it brings back memories to someone who's served in a war zone.
And yeah, when I pulled this together, we look at it, and the theater now has expanded itself as a very existential theater. Because when we looked at mental illness, it's a piece of it, but there's even a bigger piece of the puzzle. Because when I put this play together, I said, what's so ironic is that while some people were in Vietnam experiencing this and getting their legs blown off and getting wounded, we were partying and having a grand old time. And how is it that people could actually smile and laugh while their fellow humanity is suffering at that same very moment? And I took a look at that and I said, no, that's quite a tragedy. We have this parallel existence. Could we really find happiness knowing the rest of the world is in misery? And how do we deal with it? And that's really the existential view of life. The life is not that we're negative thinkers. We know in life it's not going to be perfect. There are going to be some hard roads there. How do we navigate it and try to get through life? And so a big part of the theater now is putting these plays together so we question ourselves and don't take an egocentric view of ourselves. Not say it's all about me. My story is about me going out and being number one. The story is about me. The story is about us, because that's what it's all about. And it hits some very deep issues. People that have come
people like Mother Teresa, who wasn't egocentrical,
Yeah.
the big word you just used,
Egocentric,
but
yeah.
wanted to help other people. Are there people out there who want to help other people and who aren't like I won't mention.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even getting people to, that'd be I mean, if I were able to achieve that, which I know I can't, but just to make people aware, to wake up one morning and
Your
say
plays make people aware.
of that, look, it's not about me. There's something else out there, you know? And I think if people collectively started looking at the world that way, maybe we'd have less wars. Maybe we'd have less problems. Maybe you'll have less shootings at malls, you know? And we're
Maybe
all
if
part
we
of the
had
problem.
tighter gun control as well.
But
I will
the-
throw that
But the
in.
gun control the shooting is symptomatic of something much deeper. You know, it's
not the gun, it's
Yeah.
the person behind the gun.
Yeah, it's like if
But it's
somebody-
a combination of the two.
if somebody gets
it's
into
an
a car
automatic
accident for
weapon.
speeding, do we say let's ban automobiles?
No.
What was the
But when you get a weapon of war,
Yeah.
an AR-15 or an AR-30, I shot an M16 in Vietnam. These two weapons were modeled after the M16,
Yeah.
and by putting a Glock on it, which a certain political party says it's okay, they keep knocking it out because I shouldn't get into
Well, that's
Yeah.
why this is educational. This theater is educational,
Yeah,
has
yeah,
a
thank you.
strong educational component.
Yes,
it's for a thinking audience.
yes.
The last play that we did was called the Song of Roland. That's the theme song, but it was A Lonely Summit, and it was basically an aging baby boomer who goes to a psychiatrist, and it takes place over 30 years. And the premise of it, he was a hero. He does all the things right in life, very well educated. He doesn't take the kickbacks in the corporate world. He follows all the morality laws, and in the end, everybody hates him. He loses his wife, his daughters, the corporate procedure, because he followed the rules. Nobody likes the
That's a
hero
sad
next
ending.
door.
That's a sad
That's not
ending.
normally how we're taught.
Yeah. And
Why is it in America it seems like the bad guy gets ahead?
because that's the reality. Everybody likes our heroes at a distance.
Even if they're crooked? Why do we glorify gangsters in movies?
Well, that's it.
Why do movies
Well,
such
just
as
picture
The
this.
Godfather 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Because
get such a big audience?
just picture this scenario. You go to a baseball game and your hero gets up at bat, hits the grand slam at the ninth inning.
Right.
Wow! And you get the baseball cap, you want the home run and everything else. Now picture if that guy lives next door to you and you're at a little outing in your neighborhood, and at the local neighborhood baseball game, he hits the grand slam. And all the wives all of a sudden you're going to hate that guy. He's getting all the attention. Look at that guy. I hate that guy. You know why? Because the hero is too close. We want our heroes to be myths, and we want them far away.
We don't want them to be idealistic. We don't want them to be human.
No,
right?
we don't want them to be in competition with us because there's something we can't be. In the movies, they're safe. They're on someplace else.
Well, when you go to a movie, don't you picture yourself as that star in there, the Marlon Brando who's getting the girl?
I don't consider myself a hero.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying doesn't that what the
Yeah,
normal
that's a good point,
audience
though. So what
or
our
the head
theater
of the
does,
crime
it wants
family?
people to transmute that lower level of thinking. And so, and when it comes to mental illness, when I was dealing with a family member who had some severe mental illness, I ran out of options. And I went to the family and I said, help me. And they turned around and said, the problem is you. You white-collar educated people are the problem and you're the cause of this. And I turned around and said, well, if the bus hits me tomorrow, this person's still going to have this disorder. And I went to Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. I was actually working there at the time. And I went to the top czar of the behavioral center. And I said, I want to talk to you for a few minutes. And I explained the situation. And the first thing the woman said was, what's the education level of the people you're dealing with? are they college educated? I says, no, they're not. They said, it's over, you've lost, leave. Now, that was devastating. And what I've learned was a hard lesson is that it's because people aren't educated about mental illness. So if the thinking was, if you could use the stage as a forum to teach people, because it's not me or someone saying, look, you have a problem. It's the actor playing this role.
Mm-hmm.
And say,
Exactly.
wow, that person, that's either me or that's somebody I know.
Susan, how do you find the people to play the roles to convey what he is talking about?
Well,
right
as I
now?
mentioned earlier, throughout the many years that I have been in Westchester Theater, I've come to know a lot of very fine actors, and there are a tremendous amount in this area. So pretty much hand selecting who I would like, and I offer them the role, basically. I'll be directing this piece.
Yeah.
I've always aspired to be an actor. Do you think
Did
I
you?
could try out for a bit part in one of your plays?
I think you certainly can, George. You show tremendous potential.
A lighter side of our evening. Now, I know you raised some funds from doing this. Are these funds used to help mental people, or do they pay the salaries of the people who are running the organization, or am I asking an inappropriate
No,
question?
you're asking a very fair question. The cost of running a troupe is very expensive.
Of course.
And for the last 2 years, I self-funded all
Wow.
the shows myself.
Wow, that is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
give you a feather in your hat on that
yeah,
one.
so I mean,
That is
It's a real commitment I have. It's not just like gee whiz. So, and you know, it's been expensive. So there's been a shortfall in every play.
So you have a love of getting the word out about mental illness.
Yes,
And-
I have, and I had this conversation with Susan. She's been so on board with this. I mean, she's just like, you know, she's been such a positive influence, like to keep it going.
Do you think the pressures of modern life are causing so many people to go to psychiatrists and to suffer from mental illness?
Well, material, and I'm not making a political statement either way. I'm just, popular culture is shallow. It's
Yes,
continually,
to
and
keep up with the Joneses.
yeah, and people will literally drive themselves crazy trying to get this.
For the norms of society, what's
Society.
successful.
Yeah, and
Mercedes, a car, a house in Greenwich, Connecticut, the kids going off to Europe and to the finest schools.
Yeah,
The pressure can be very much on a person.
and it's a matter of getting your priorities right. It's some years ago I worked at IBM, and I was always an independent person. My personhood was always developed internally. I don't externalize my personhood. I feel I'm a smart person because I educated myself. And when I was working at IBM, it wasn't a good fit for me. It was too,
In the box.
was in the box. It's not a criticism in
No.
any way. And when IBM laid people off, a lot of people committed suicide. And I spoke to a clergy member, and he said, because people felt they were smart because they worked for a big corporation. They thought they were good looking because they worked for a good corporation. And once they took this external thing away from, they lost their beingness. And they put all their faith into something outside themselves.
So they were brainwashed by the organization.
I just have a little note to that,
Okay.
because IBM was always considered a cradle-to-grave type of
It
company.
was.
And it has metamorphosed in recent years. But I think people tend to see it as a family. And I think once you violate that family structure,
Yeah.
people lose that foothold.
What I don't
It's
like
very
about
detrimental.
corporate world is bottom line.
Yeah.
They're a family till the bottom line starts not doing good enough for the shareholders, then all of a sudden 25,000 people are let
But
go.
for the longest time, they
Yeah.
did have a good value system, a core value
I've heard
system.
a different version of IBM. I've been moved. Did you like going around to different locations?
Yeah.
Or were you in one place when you worked for? I also know you're an economics professor. I think we ought to bring that up. And how does an economics professor come into what you're doing now?
Oh, that's a pretty funny story. It's
Well, let's hear it, if it's not too
well,
long.
I was about 3-4 years ago. I had this very senior management job at a not-for-profit, and the CEO brought me in to turn the organization around.
Sure.
And very smart fellow, and I was doing quite well there. And he said, you know, Rich, as long as I'm here, you've got the job. You turned everything
Wow.
around. And I thought, oh, this is great. And I go to work one morning, and I'm told he was escorted off the property, and he was let go.
Wow,
And I knew I'm next in line.
wow.
It's just the way the institutional world is. So I said, well, I've been around the block a few times, so it's going to take about 3 months for them to get the paperwork to get rid of me. So I just went to my office,
them
locked
to the
my door, and
punch.
wrote a play. And 3 months later, they escorted me off the property, and
So you're a playwright.
so I became a playwright.
See that? There's another field I didn't know you were in.
Well,
You
give you
actually-
lemons, make lemonade. and 3 years
One of the
later, here I am.
problems why people have mental illness is they don't go out and get a lemon and make lemonade.
That's
or
right.
They don't reach for the moon
Yeah.
or Venus and hit the stars. They stay in that box.
Yeah.
And like you said, when the box falls apart, they fall apart.
Exactly. And people need that forum to say, you know, there is hope and there is another way of looking at life. And, you know, Susan said it right. It's like when you look at mental illness, if someone says they have cancer, you get empathy. You know, I'll help you. I'll be here for you. You tell someone, I have a bipolar condition. I have this. Yeah. Okay.
I'll use an example of a
Stigma.
soldier.
Yeah.
A soldier who's been in combat,
Yes.
who gets a wound, he gets a Purple Heart. But a person who gets PTSD and it affects the rest of his life, and 13 soldiers every day, veterans, commit suicide in
Yes.
America.
That's right.
He doesn't get a Purple Heart.
No, he
How
doesn't.
come? Maybe he should for a psychological
That's
interest,
right.
PTSD, and in World War II they called it shell shock.
That's right. Nobody
'Cause
gives
when you
medals
see
for the
your-
mental pain and the mental suffering. We always seem to emphasize the physical, never the mental. It always takes a back seat in society.
And it's put, like you said, it's put in the back seat.
Yeah, it's sad. And I think,
But
you know,
famous people go to see psychiatrists, actors, actresses, heads of corporation. Are they mental then? They're seeing psychiatrists because they got problems, I assume.
well, it's when people, you know, could just be honest with themselves and just say, like if you have high blood pressure, you say, I have high blood pressure. I don't want to die of a heart attack.
Do
so
psychiatrists have the answers? Some people say they're crazier than the people they go to a big funny.
well,
I
And they
think the
get
people
paid
who
very well.
take it upon themselves to go to a
Yes.
therapist, they're taking initiative. They're
Yes.
taking stock of their life. They're looking for help.
Yeah.
And that type of person is more apt to be not cured, but worked through in different modalities, therapeutic modalities.
Yes, and which is
to,
good.
You know,
To
help
reach
themselves,
out.
to reach out. Yeah,
To
once
not
a person
commit
does
suicide.
yeah.
not to
To
go
not go
home and
off a
close
deep
the
end.
door and get in bed and put the covers over your head.
Or not to go out and get a gun and shoot up
Exactly.
Yes.
a shopping center or a movie theater we're not safe in the world today. I won't say America, not in the world,
In the world.
because of mentally deranged people. Nobody in their right mind would mass shoot a bunch of people.
And when you look at all these scenarios over and over again, the person who commits suicide jumps off the bridge, shoots people, and when you talk to people, when they interview people next to them, yeah, I noticed something about them. There was this, did you do anything? No.
Life is the most precious thing.
Yeah.
Why would anyone want to kill themselves or kill other people?
Yeah.
I don't
and-
have the answer. Does anyone have the answer? What happens to a person that they
when you
snap
have
like
that breakdown, and I experienced firsthand loved ones have a nervous breakdown, and it is a very ugly experience. It's something that you just never forget. It's something you just see it, and you just see the pain, the suffering, a person break down, crying, wailing, and no matter how much love and empathy you give that person, it doesn't help. It's out of your hands, and you just watch all that pain.
Well, let's get back to your organization.
Yeah.
We only have about 3
Yeah.
minutes left in the
Okay.
show. What events do you have coming up? Where can people see them? What's a website or a phone number that they can be? You know a website?
Yeah.
Website, demitaskplayers.com.
Say that again.
demitaskplayers.com.
Uh-huh. And is there a phone number that they can call your office or
Yep.
anything like
There's
that?
There should be a phone number
contact
listed there,
you will
contact
see-
number.
Demitask.
They can listen to clips of the poetry, the different productions they see
I'm going to
clips.
do a little correction here. Don't just go by demitask.com. Put up a phone number. You know why in the future? Because there's many people who don't believe in this .com world, and I'm one of them. A lot of people can't reach me because I don't go on a computer. And look at what they're missing.
Exactly.
Although I never like to toot my own horn. It's been a pleasure having
Thank you
both
very
of
much,
you on.
George. And thank you for your service.
No, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you for the service both of you are doing through this repertory theater. Are you doing something in White Plains as well as the Armonk thing?
Oh, yeah, September 15th. That's Sunday, September 15th. We are doing Thoughts for a Lost Friend. It's going to be it's going to be a combination of theater, cinema, and music.
And again, what is that? Demitask.com?
Oh, demitaskplayers.com.
Okay, again, I thank you
Thank
for
you, sir.
being a great
been a
guest on the
pleasure.
show.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I thank you for being a great guest on the show. It's been George Ondek. I want you all to go to this event they're having, both of the events, support them, and let's have everybody be mentally fit. How's that?
Thank you.
And by the way, if you see me in a local coffee shop or in a local place, just say, hello, George, and you might be the next guest on the George Ondek Show. Thank you again.
Thank you very
folks.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.